All right, how we doing? Excited about the Belk Bowl. Got started with practice yesterday, and I thought a little rocky coming out of the break there. We gave our guys 2 weeks off and required lifts about 4 times, but much better day today. 2 training camp-like practices, really working on South Carolina. A lot of young guys getting reps, which obviously, especially on the defensive side of the ball, happen anyways, but really pleased with the effort today. We'll start on Virginia tomorrow, practice Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning, and really, again, concentrate on us first of all while we're here, but have the entire game plan done by Saturday morning. When we break on the 22nd, we'll give the players the 23rd and 24th off, report to Charlotte on the 25th, and have a walkthrough and meetings, and then practice on the 26th, 27th, and then have a walkthrough on the 28th, and obviously we play on the 29th. So, but very pleased with today's effort and looking forward to getting started on Virginia. Got a very good football team. Bronco Mendenhall is a guy that I've respected from afar. Met him for the first time last week. Really good football coach. You turn the tape on. Teams play hard, they play fast, they play physical. You turn on the tape offensively, Bryce Perkins jumps out at you as a guy that creates a lot of issues for you defensively. Off-rhythm plays, some issues in the run game they create with an extra hat, some option principles that they bring to the table, which are issues you've got to deal with. I'm glad we've had a little bit more time to look at them and digest a little bit of some of the things that they do and the issues that they present. Ellis, the running back's a really good player. Both of those guys are right at 1,000 yards rushing. 950 and 932 or something like that. But both guys you see them moving the chains a lot in the run game. Zacchaeus, number 4, is a guy that does a lot of things for him. He's got 80-something receptions, carries the ball for him. I think the next guy with receptions is right at 40. So that tells you as much as he's been targeted a lot. But a really good football player, creates some explosive plays, but multiple formations and personnel groupings and run game issues. And we got to work through those things defensively. 3-4 in their structure. They will play some 4 down. Both outside linebackers are impressive, long, athletic guys that get issues. They do a lot of things in the back end. 34 Hall's an outstanding corner, 6'1", 205 pounds, probably one of the better corners we've seen all year. But this guy's a really good football player. I think they're 14 in the country in interceptions. They do a great job of getting the ball off of you, and they create a lot of issues on the back end with some different things they do movement-wise. So, again, glad we've got a little bit more time to prepare, and they're really, really good on special teams. Injury-wise, Bryson Allen Williams' practicing looks good. J.C. Horn's practicing looks good. Jalen Dickers is a little limited, but we think will be full speed by the end of the week, and we'll be prepared for the bowl game. And Keir Thomas and Aaron Sterling can continue to progress, and we'll see how they do moving forward. Really proud of the 13 guys that graduated yesterday. Zach Bailey, Dennis Daly, Danny Fennell, Danny Gordon, Caleb Kinlaw, Stephen Montag, Christian Pellage, Debo Samuel, Donnell Stanley, Eldridge Thompson, Tyson Williams, DJ Smith, and Dexter Weidman. 6 of these guys have eligibility left. So 6 of these guys are going to be playing next fall with their diploma in their hand. It says an awful lot about, number 1, the student athlete, but number 2, what we're doing here academically at South Carolina. So impressed with Maria Hickman and her staff and the job that they do. Tomorrow is signing day. We'll sign probably anywhere from 18 to 21 guys, 22. And we're going to have probably 13 or 14 that'll be mid-year enrollees. And in order to be mid-year, number 1, you got to be recruiting the right kind of student athlete, which we are, that's had his stuff together, that understands academically, that has a maturity level about himself to be ready for that situation, which is very difficult to do. But number 2, you've got to have room under your 85, which means you've got to be graduating your student athletes. A lot of places have 1 or 2, 3 or 4 mid-years. We're able to have this many because our guys are graduating in 3.5 years. And it says an awful lot, again, about what our academic staff, they do. Obviously, the young men that we're recruiting in our program, and really proud of that situation and where we are and moving forward. And I'll open it up for any questions.
Raise your hand and get a microphone to you, Dave.
Will, you mentioned Perkins. How will you guys try to scout him? Is that putting a joiner in there, maybe to run scout, or a lot of different looks?
DeCaron and Jay are both certainly capable of being very similar skill set as far as that's concerned, but he's a tough guy, and you're going to have to be able to tackle and play in space well. Keep zone eyes on the ball and do a really good job in our pocket. Our pass rush is being disciplined and not getting bumped out of lanes.
You've probably gotten asked this a lot, but with the new signing period, it seems like you guys are signing the bulk of your class in this December range. Is that something you expected when this first ruling came out, or is it something that's kind of a
Colin, I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest with you. I didn't have any idea the thing that I would say is now with spring visits, the recruiting calendar has always been a little bit more accelerated than it has in the past as far as the dates. The signing date being in February, and then you have young men taking unofficial visits their sophomore year of high school, and you're recruiting a guy 2 and 3 years before he's signing a national letter of intent. So obviously now with the signing date early in December, I think that it's been a good thing, number one, but I think that a lot of young men they're ready to get it over with. I have a lot of guys I'm talking to on the phone, and they're like, Coach, I'm ready to get this over with. I'm tired of dealing with it. I'm tired of all the phone calls. I'm tired of all the coaches coming by school, coming by the home. I'm ready to make my decision, and that's where, because the calendar is so accelerated, I think it fits well where it is, and I think it's a good thing. But I didn't have any idea last year we would sign. I think we signed 23 in December, and again we'll sign a large majority of them again.
Have y'all heard back from the NCAA on JT EBay, Nick Harvey, Eldridge Thompson on?
When we do, I will let you know.
Does that affect how you approach the last few spots in the recruiting class, not knowing and addressing needs and that kind of thing?
Well, I think that always in those situations, when you get to down to when you talk in terms of the last 3 or 4 spots in your signing class, you're going to try and sign the best available player. So that's what we'll be focused on. So that doesn't really affect our decision making at this point.
Well, who does Virginia remind you most of teams you've played either this year or last year?
I would probably just say from a running game standpoint, as far as incorporating the quarterback a little bit with Kentucky, what they did this year, and incorporating the quarterback a little bit. But they're very unique, stylish as far as what they do. Not necessarily the gap scheme running game that Kentucky has, not necessarily that, but it's more of utilizing the quarterback a little bit more in the run game. But they're very unique to what we've seen in the last 3 years.
How important was it for you to get Brian's contract extended and the raise to keep him here?
Well, I think it's always important from a continuity standpoint. I think that's really important, essential to keep really good coaches, and Brian's a really good football coach on a lot of fronts. I think, number one, schematically does a really nice job with our offense. Number two, does a great job relating within our staff and our players, and obviously does a fantastic job of developing players when they get on campus and then recruiting players to our campus. So I think that the continuity of what you're trying to where we're trying to go in far as creating that championship culture, I thought was very important. I appreciate the board and Coach Tanner and their support, which has been great in our 3 years here. It's been fantastic, and I really appreciate their support. I do want everybody to know we're not celebrating 7 wins. So let's make sure that we make that crystal clear. We needed to keep the continuity of what I think is a really good coaching staff, and I appreciate the board and Coach Tanner recognizing that.
Were you competing against a specific offer that Brian had?
No, this was in the works with Coach Tanner as we were ending this season, knowing that the guy's a really good football coach, and I didn't talk to anybody else.
And as opposed to just a few years ago, as you were coming up through the assistant coach rankings, do you feel like it's more realistic now that you can keep at this level, you can keep coordinators away from other head coaching jobs, even if you do these types of things?
Well, I think that it's all about timing, and it's all about the right job. And certainly we've got guys on our staff that are going to have those opportunities, and I think they've got to make that decision. And I've had those conversations with those guys as far as making the right decision to take the right job at the right time, because so much of it has to do with timing and being in the right spot. So that's all. But again, that goes back to a personal decision of is it the right time? Is it the right situation? Does it have the right support and structure in place to be successful? And all of those are, certainly questions you've got to ask yourself when you look into that.
Will, does it look as if Farrell will play center for you guys in Charlotte?
Certainly can. Hank Manos is another guy that can play center. We can bump Donnell back to center and play Blake at guard. So we've got some different options. Mm-hmm.
And also, if Chandler does wind up playing the majority of the game there, what does he bring to that center position?
Well, I think Chandler's a guy that is just we have continued to gain confidence in him He was put on scholarship for a reason because we expected him to play for us this year. He had earned obviously his playing time and his scholarship with his play and his preparation. He's gotten his weight up. Is where it needs to be. You know, when I first got here, Sean Elliott recruited him and said that he'll end up playing for us, and Sean was exactly right.
Is there any long-term plan or possibility to move Israel to safety full-time?
No. No, he is a guy that can play safety. He played safety today at practice. You know, and I'll go back and say it's about getting the best 4, the best 5, and if you're going to play 6, the best 6 guys. And he gives you a lot of position variety because he's very intelligent. He has a willing tackler. He can play the ball down the field. He has man and zone instincts. So with that being said, it's about getting the best guys on the field. And if he's best position is at safety that day, then sure, we'll play him at safety. But right now, we feel very comfortable with the job he's done at corner.
Last year when Debo went down, the offense dropped considerably. What are you doing in practice? What do you want to do in practice to overcome his loss? Who will be some of the guys you'll be counting on, and also in the return game as well?
Well, I think that we're much more equipped right now, maybe than we were at that time to handle that, obviously, and Phil having more time to prepare for a bowl game as opposed to a four-day practice week for your next opponent. But Shi Smith can play outside. Josh Vann can play outside. Both of them can play in the slot. Keel Pollard's been very effective for us in the slot from a tight end position, which sometimes creates some issues for you defensively. Do you count him as a tight end? Do you count him as a wideout? Because we've used him pretty much about 50-50 as far as a core player being in the C area and a guy that's flexed out. So that's been something we've done a good job with our self-scout and really studying ourselves as far as how we're using him. But, I don't know that one guy's gonna replace Debo, especially in this short of a time, but certainly there'll be a combination of guys that we need to step up. Chavis Dawkins, Chad Terrell, we're going to need some guys to step up and make some plays for us. In the return game, I still feel good as far as A.J. Turner, Rico Dowdle, guys, Shi Smith, Josh Vann is a punt returner. Obviously, Brian is a punt returner. Some guys that can go out and return kicks for us. But we haven't gotten that far as game planning and who those guys will be at that time. But when we do get in our specialty periods and we do return kicks, those are the guys we have back.
Where have you seen the biggest improvement in Dakarian Joyner since he got here in January?
Well, I just think, again, the more and more snaps these guys have, and whether it's the quarterback position or whatever position it is, the game there's more command, and the game continues to slow down for them. And there's like drinking out water out of a fire hose a spring ago, as far as just how fast the game was coming. The unfortunate thing is when you get into the season and you're not in that first or second group, it's hard to gain reps for that. We've spent a lot of time with both DeCarron and Jay these last two. I don't know that Jake Bentley took a team rep the last 2 days. He took 7-on-7, did some 1-on-1, and that was it. And that was on purpose because we want those guys to get the bulk majority of the reps. And I thought both guys did some nice things for us and continue to improve. But I think as much as anything, just command of what we do, having some anticipation about, call-wise as far as the things that we do offensively.
How have you seen him grow as a passer? Does he do anything different mechanically since he got here, seeing the field better? What was he different about him?
Well, I think I'd go back to command. He has better anticipation in the route game as far as where the routes are and where, being able to throw people open more in those situations. But again, that all comes with reps. It all comes with turns and reps, and I think he's improved tremendously.
Will, I think you've said about a possible expanded playoff that you're not really too concerned with that until you get there. I don't want to misquote you. Let me know if I did there, but
That's all right. You guys do that a lot anyways. It doesn't really matter.
Would an expanded playoff to 8 or even more help you get there, though?
I've been a proponent of the bowl system, and that's really what I'm a proponent of because I think it's a great reward for the student athlete. Because that's really what we all say it's about the student athlete, but a lot of the decisions that are made aren't about the student athlete. Let's just cut to the chase. So I'm about the student athlete, and I think it's a great reward for a young man to be able to go to a place like Charlotte or last year go to Tampa and spend a week at a really nice hotel and get fed well and really enjoy a reward for a season. and that's really what the bowl games are for. And whether it's a 4-game or 8-game, we plan on being there at some point. All right, and that's what we're pushing for, and that's what we want to be a part of. What I don't want to see is the bowl game to continue to be diminished, because that takes away from rewarding a young man, a student athlete, for a season. And it's a lot. We put these guys through a lot. I mean, we put them through an awful lot. So I don't want to see that get diminished. But whether it's 4 or 8, we plan on being there.
Would 8 instead of 4 more diminish it, do you think?
I just don't know how you're going to structure it if you start getting to an 8-game playoff, and we actually do have exams. I know we don't, it's not about the student athlete, So at the end of the day, I mean, let's be realistic. It's a very long season as it is. Then you're going to probably, if you go to an 8-game playoff, you probably got to have a 10-game regular season, I would guess. I mean, because it's going to be more and more difficult to be able to structure it. And I'm sure that somebody will come up with a great idea for how they want to do it. I just don't want to get away from the bowl games, because I think it's a really good reward for the players.
Is there anybody that won't be available to play, whether it's academics or they're leaving early or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay. And as far as guys that you'll be able to talk about tomorrow, anybody who's going to be practicing with you, is there a number that you guys are expecting? The 2019 group to be on campus?
Not right now.
Well, have you had any guys like Jake or Brian apply for the NFL evaluations?
I think that's a personal between the player and submitting the papers, and so I'm going to leave that up to the player to discuss that and whatever they were answered through the NFL.
Anybody else? Good.
All righty, thank you.
See you tomorrow, same time.
Yep, see you tomorrow.